1, 2, 3. Oh, you'll never get to heaven in your Hummer, no matter how much gas you put inside. But it's a rocky road to hell, and you'll get there pretty well in that great big damn behemoth that you drive. Oh, you'll never get to heaven in your Hummer.
Yeah. Nice. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about tonight. That was our guest playing on that song, and he'll tell you about it here in just 1 minute. Welcome to Dishin with Musicians. This is episode number 4. I'm so excited about this show. This is kind of I don't know what to call it. It's a mishmash of great rock and roll history and stories, and all kinds of great stuff happens on this show. And tonight, you're in for a great treat. So tune in, share it as much as possible to all your avenues and arteries out there on the interwebs. And boy, this is going to be fun. I'm excited. Our guest tonight, Lawrence Peters. We're old buddies from Chicago, so it's great to reunite with him and catch up a little bit. But we're also going to catch up in front of you, so you know what's happening. So also, I will remark that you can comment in. So let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're a part of the stream and you're active and doing your thing. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you will, especially if you're an audiophile or a record collector. You're going to have a ton of questions tonight because there's a ton of fun stuff that we're going to talk about. So you're going to be introduced to some new bands, and that's a no doubt for sure. And so yeah, let us know you're here. Say hello. Like I said, make sure to share the program, and also don't forget to donate to the 501c3 Nebraska Performing Arts Hall of Fame. That's why we're here. Really is to promote the Hall of Fame and be more active with those channels. So that is an official nonprofit. So your money is going to a good place, and it's going to do more stuff like this, and also induct Nebraska artists into the Hall of Fame and people that have played in Nebraska and stuff like that. So it's an unbelievable organization that my father helped start. And I'm so excited to team up with my father to keep it going and actually make it a nonprofit, which before it was not. So it started as a nonprofit, and then it kind of turned not nonprofit. But the point is that now it is, once again, a nonprofit, and we're going to start doing all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm so excited to be a part of it and do really cool stuff like this. It's an honor. So let us know you're here, and let's get our guest on. He is one of the coolest guys, man. And when we talk for, I hope we're not going to talk for days, because I'm sure we'll need to take a break. But when I see him, it's usually, we're pretty chatty Cathy, because we have a lot of stuff in common and we love a lot of the same music. I think I bumped into him, if I'm not mistaken, I bumped into him at the Ameripolitan Awards, I believe. And boy, that was a great joy to see him there. That was the same year that we went to Memphis and recorded at Sun Studios. My wife and I got to record at Sun and experience the Ameripolitan Awards in Memphis, Tennessee for the first time. That was incredible. We got invited down there by Dale Watson, our friend and Zubar regular. He invited us down, and boy, he showed us a good time. That was a fantastic experience. So let us know if you can hear everything okay, and you're kind of our ears and eyes out there. So make sure to tune in. Here he is, folks. Let's see what he's doing. Mr. Lawrence Peters from Chicago. Hey, Lawrence.
What up?
How's it going, my buddy?
Good, man. So good to see you.
I know. This is great.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you
Thanks
so much for doing this. And
Thanks for having me on. I'm so
yeah,
excited.
as you can see, I infiltrated the chambers here. So I'm kind of I'm watching the yeah, they're very, very tight security around here, but they let us do our show from the chambers here in the Senate. So that's great. So make sure that no craziness goes down here. But yeah, well, thanks so much for being here. You and I go way back. When I first moved to Chicago, probably early 2000s. I bumped into you, I believe, at Martyrs, perhaps. I think
probably.
And that's when I very first met you, I believe. And then, of course, we bumped into each other all the time at the Hideout.
Yeah.
Because you were pretty much a constant fixture at the Hideout for years and years. And
still, yeah.
Yeah, man. Unbelievable. That's so I'm so happy to get you on. I've since moved to Nebraska. For those of you that don't know, moved back to my hometown of Lincoln, Nebraska, and started a record label and started putting out records of my own and others. And I think I'm up to like 25 or 30 of total records put out, which is really fun, of course, but I've never lost the love of Chicago. So, and man, you've done some great stuff there.
Oh,
but
thanks,
let's jump into the mind of Lawrence Peters for a second. I don't know where to start, man. You're like a, you're like a Star Wars saga of greatness.
Oh, nice.
You really are. And you have a lot
thanks,
of like
man.
different avenues of awesome stuff you do. And
Thanks, buddy.
it's like performance and then DJing and then, procuring and preserving rock and roll via records. And it's like, I don't know where to start. So tell the people about yourself, man.
Oh boy. Thanks for the intro. That was really cool. Yeah, I feel really lucky, man. I moved to Chicago in '92 and then worked at Lounge Acts. Amazingly, I was super lucky.
God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years.
So tell people what Lounge Acts is.
So Lounge Acts was it was really the great rock and roll emporium of Chicago for years and years and years, and started in I think the very late '80s, if I remember correctly. So just not too long before I moved to Chicago, and it was run by Julie Adams and Sue Miller, and they just had brilliant taste. Well, Sue Miller was the booker, and she had brilliant taste, and just brought in all the awesome stuff, like all the stuff you needed to see, really captured and represented the Chicago scene. Yeah. It was amazing. And then you had an incredible run, and then the guy that owned the building sold it, and the new guy was like, "Yeah, you're out," and we were like, "Well, shit." Okay.
I didn't know that's how it all went down.
Yeah, sad but true. And luckily, Sue and Julia persuaded him to let us stay for an extra couple weeks. So we cleared the calendar for the first 2 weeks of January, and we had what was described in a newspaper as a Viking funeral, where Sue brought all the amazing bands that were just starting out when they were playing at the Manor Astroman. And it was, I mean, I can't even, it's
like early Tweety stuff, right. I mean, Smashing Pumpkins probably.
Yeah, well, Uncle Tupelo played there. That's where where Sue and Jeff met. Yeah. And so the last 2 weeks were just, every day was like a 3-band bill of all like 3 amazing bands that you never thought you'd see all together.
Wow.
Kind of deal. Yeah, it was a good way to go out. And I was working there till the end, and the plan was we were going to go get another bar, a bigger place, and we just couldn't find anything. So
really, I'll be darned. I was wondering why it didn't continue on. That's an interesting story.
Oh well, yeah. So it was very sad because it was really an amazing place. I made a lot of great friends there and saw a bunch of incredible bands. Wow. But then I lucked out after being unemployed for about a month. My friend Evelyn Weston, who had gotten me my job at Lounge Acts, she had been working at a newish place called the Hideout, and she got me a job there as a door guy. And then I managed to get a couple bartending shifts, and then I was very quickly whisked upstairs by Katie Tutton to help her with booking. She was like, "Oh, you worked at Lounge Acts, you know what's going on." I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, let's do it."
Threw you in the mix, yeah. Well, at that, I mean, from what I've read about the history of the Hideout, and I don't know a lot, but I do know that it started legally, I think, in like 1934.
Yeah, 34, right.
But legally because at that time it was probably a booze exchange.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm making this up. So there are definitely, I read a really great history on Prohibition, and apparently there were bars, like there were speakeasies, obviously, but there were bars that just never even made a pretense of hiding that they were bars, because they were like the bar where the cops went, or the bar. Yeah. And so my understanding, and I don't know if I'm making this up, if I'm applying this to the Hideout, but I don't think it ever closed. I think it was just allowed to stay open because it was always kind of in the background, and it was where cops went to drink. And so it was just. And
describe that. So the area, or if anybody knows how, Chicago or the Hideout is like, when you find it, which is very difficult to find if you're not familiar, it's surrounded by like an industrial sort of war zone, and it's just like it's a fantastic place to end up, because you feel like you're at a undisclosed location party where you got the secret key to become a part of that evening.
Yeah, totally.
So it already starts out like kick ass. You're already in a great mood by the time. And not only that, I mean, I could go on and on about who I've seen play there, but Devil in a Woodpile played there every Tuesday night. And oh my God, the list goes on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, man, so you have an affiliation with that bar because of your affiliation with Lounge Acts.
Yeah.
So you kind of got the job that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy. I really lucked out.
Wow.
It was astonishing. So I guess where I'm going with this is that, after moving here and not really doing a lot very actively musically for the first few years, it was just hard to find bands. I had a couple, but nothing very important. I did improv comedy for a long time at Improv Olympic, which was really amazing. But
got it all. Look at you. That's incredible, dude. You did stuff. I didn't know you did that. I did.
Yeah. Actually, I studied with Del Close. I had two semesters with that guy. It was unbelievable.
Dude,
I was really lucky. Yeah, he was.
Talk about improv comedy. He's the guy.
He was like an oracle. I mean, he just
wow.
He just
Mike Meyer, all the SNL people started at improv.
Oh yeah, Amy Poehler. Oh my God, I can't.
Jeez.
Her name. But I mean, just Tina Fey. They had moved on to Second City by the time I got there, but they were all Improv Olympic alumni.
Right. That was kind of the precursor to Second City. Yeah, that was, and then
well, apparently, my understanding is that Improv Olympic and Second City split off of the same. I think it was like the Compass Players, if I have that right.
Okay.
It was this very blue collar concept of like, let's get people to tell their stories on stage. Basically, like let's have them be the source of the material. So instead of having people come and get cast in plays and awkwardly learn their lines and trundle through blocking or whatever.
Right.
These people have this idea of like, let's make this thing where people just use themselves as their inspiration and then tell their stories. It'll be way more organic and way more interesting. And sure enough, it really was. And like all these people that would not have ever done anything like that just opened up, like became really fired up by it. And so after this is, I think in the 50s, if I remember this correctly. And then later on, Del Close was part of that crew. Yeah. And then there were divisions and they split off.
Okay.
And Del Close did his own thing, and then eventually he and Sharna started Improv Olympic. But
so you it sounds like you have a knack of being at the right place at the right time. Are you a big Dr. John fan? Did you listen to The Right Place?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh my God.
Did you listen to that song a lot?
what a crazy story that guy had.
Oh
my God.
Did I tell you? I don't think I told you, but this is an offshoot of our conversation. But he played in Lincoln. Probably about a year or two before he died. And the day he rolled into town, discovered that he had blood clots in his leg, and it almost killed him in Lincoln, Nebraska. He was rushed to the hospital, and he had a double bill with the Blind Boys of Alabama.
Oh man.
And it was, so of course we were going to go. My wife and I had tickets. We show up at the door and they say, "We're really sorry. Dr. John was rushed to the hospital. The real doctor said that he shouldn't play the show." And so it was basically, they just cut it down to the Blind Boys. And of course we were still like, oh, of course we're going to go.
Hell yeah.
And there was like 5 bozos that turned around and walked away. I'm like, how could you turn down the Blind Boys?
No kidding.
Still equally as kick ass.
Oh, man.
So the Blind Boys came out and did like 6 songs, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And then sure as shit, Dr. John strolls out on stage and the place goes berserk. And what does he sing? Such a Night. He opens with Such a Night because for him, it must have been such a night.
Oh,
because he's like, I think he escaped from the hospital to come and make the paycheck because he's old school and he wanted the money.
Sure.
So and then I don't want to bore you with this, but after the show, the Blind Boys were confronted by me and another guy, and we were like, "Hey, if you want to maybe make a few more bucks, the Zoo Bar, legendary Zoo Bar is right down the street. Why don't you come and play like a song or two, and we'll pay you some money.
Nice.
And they said, cool. Well, I'll definitely come. And one guy was like, I'll definitely show up, but I don't know if I'll play. So we roll over to the Zoo Bar, and I'm not kidding you. They pulled up, this big white van pulls up right in front, and all of them get out. And they roll in, and the band that was playing had no clue who they even were. They were young kids. So me and another guy took over. They were like, we were like, hey, we're really sorry about this, but the Blind Boys of Alabama are here and they want to play. So I ended up playing drums with them.
Sweet.
And another guy played keys, and it was just like this mesmerizing evening. But I'll never forget that Dr. John. That's when he last played Lincoln, Nebraska, and he died about 8 years later. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy stuff.
Well, talk about being in the right place at the right time for that too. That he,
I know, but it seems like you are, man. You're constantly at the center of things. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, but cool. the funny thing about that though is that I've definitely been very lucky in spots that I've been in, but it's never turned into like making me rich or famous. Not that I want to be famous. Famous.
But up here, man, you've got all these great
I do. Well, and actually, I mean, that kind of leads to what I was trying to get to with that is that I feel really lucky in the opportunities I've had, and I've been able to build this kind of world that's exactly to my liking.
It sounds like
really exciting. So like DJing and playing music and collecting records and bartending. And
well, let's go back to where it all started, man. How did you get into music?
So as a kid, so I was born and raised in Denver. And Kansas, but I was born in Denver, and my mom is from Lawrence, Kansas, which it turns out was why I was named Lawrence. It took a long time to get that out of my family. They wouldn't turn me onto that, but so I don't know what their problem was, but I
thought that was a fake name for a while, because I read that you were from Kansas, and I'm like, oh, I think he might just be going as that. So I didn't know if it was a stage name or not.
Yeah, no, it's really really is my name. And my mom missed Kansas desperately. And I was born in Denver, but like they had moved from Lawrence like 2 months earlier or something like that. So I was I'm all full of Kansasness just from being in there.
Yeah. You incubated in Kansas.
Yeah, totally. I was trying to think of the word for that, but
Yeah.
So my mom was this Kansas farm girl, and she loved country music, and she listened to it on the radio. Well, a combination of that and like top 40 and like pop oldies that she grew up with. And so it was a pretty good mix of stuff, and like radio shows and all that, like old radio shows from the 40s, 50s, 60s. And so I got a lot of different stuff, but country music was always on, and I loved it. And I had a radio in my room, and I would turn the knob I would usually start at the country station, and then when it got to a bad song, I would turn it to the rock station. I went to the rock station for a little bit, and then after I got bored with that, then I moved back to the country station.
Yeah, so you were mixing it up back then.
Yeah, because I was like, I just want to hear good stuff, and so I luckily it was the early 70s when I was like just barely old enough to start noticing stuff like that, and so luckily, like I was the so what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my God. When you are basting, I'll just say basting. So I was basting in this music from absolutely the earliest age, and never thought I would like become a country musician or anything like that. Right. But it's
wow. So it just kind of So these things are kind of inherent, right? I mean, you got these kind of like images and sort of like memories that's kind of how I got into it. I mean, I had all these like early memories of hearing these songs, with my uncles playing and my dad playing.
Oh yeah.
And it just kind of, and then when I got into college, and I kind of rebelled a little bit and listened to more punk and metal and whatever like that, I always went back to country because it's like that was like my comfort spot. Like it always brought me back to the old timey bluegrass country sound. I just always enjoyed it.
Nice.
And to me, it was like it parlayed into one another. When I played a punk beat like a don't da 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 don't da 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 don't da da da, which you're a drummer, all about.
Oh yeah.
That's the same damn beat that's in bluegrass songs.
Right.
Or old timey songs that people were playing on washboards and stuff. So speaking of washboards, you are a well-known Electric washboard player. Now tell us about that. That's incredible.
Well, so I moved to Lawrence to go to college and to be around all my family that didn't live in Denver, and I lucked into being in a rockabilly band. So it was my second band basically, and I had just learned to play drums. And
what band was that called? What was it called?
Well, the first band I was in was called Skog, SKOG. We were we sound like the Velvet Underground.
Okay.
Pretty sweet. And I taught myself how to play drums, and that was how that all went down. And then, but the rockabilly band was called Rotgut. And
nice.
Yeah. Which I was pretty proud of. That was my name. I was like, this is what we think we should go. Because we were called Helvis originally, which is not my fault.
Wow. Helvis.
Helvis with an H, yeah.
That is unbelievable. Oh my gosh. That's great.
So I was in Rotgut and I was playing drums, and the lead singer, Jeffrey Lee, was at one practice, he was like, I want to do this Hank Williams gospel song. And we were like, yeah, great. And I was playing it on drums and it just didn't sound right to me. And I don't know why it occurred to me that a washboard was the thing to do, because I didn't have one. I'd never actually seen anybody play one, but I somehow magically knew that. And so I just walked down Mass Street, which is the main street in Lawrence. And I walked into this antique store and they were in a big sale and they just happened to have a washboard.
I'll be darned.
Okay. So I bought it, cheap, and put chain on it to hang around my neck. And I played it with thimbles, which is super annoying. And I stopped doing that after a while, but because it's the loudest thing in the world. It's like having a jet airplane sitting on stage with you. It's kind of brutal.
Okay.
But I started playing washboard on that Hank Williams song, and then I started playing on some other stuff. And then this bluegrass band that was fully formed in Stillwater, Oklahoma. They moved to Lawrence, and I started, all my friends were like, we want to play with you guys. And so we just sort of insinuated ourselves into their band.
I'll be darned.
And I started playing washboard with them. And then when the lead singer left to go back to school, I had already been singing because I knew all these, I knew a bunch of bluegrass songs, and we did a lot of stuff. But then I started really I was kind of the lead guy, and
just kind of fell into it. Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool, man. Were you guys doing like modern bluegrass, or were you doing old timey stuff?
Yeah, it was more old timey stuff. It was one of the guys, Corey, he was a big Bill Monroe fan. So we had a lot of Bill Monroe songs.
I guess I should ask you what was the lineup like? Maybe that'll explain.
Oh, it was like, let's see. There's actually a Bruce Springsteen apparently had a bunch of bands before, he became Bruce Springsteen, more or less, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And some of them were just like a cooperative of people.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it was just like, there's 15 people. And so there's somebody like playing chess.
Yeah. We have a couple bands in Lincoln like that.
Okay. Well, yeah, sure.
It's like whoever shows up. Like
it was kind of that vibe. It was like, there were probably 5 guitar players, and none of them could play a lead guitar. And there was, and there's probably at least one banjo. There was definitely a mandolin player, and then I think I was the only percussionist, maybe. Yeah, I think I was. So I was playing the washboard and doing that thing and singing. Nice. But I brought in let's see. Some Flat and Scruggs and some Jim and Jesse. And
I love Jim and Jesse. We do some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then also Dwight Yoakam,
sure.
Some country stuff, like some old country stuff. So that was it was a good mix of people.
So did you guys gig a lot in Lawrence and around Lawrence, or?
Yeah, sort of. Rotgut played a lot. We played, we had actually some pretty legendary shows. We actually played with Reverend Horton Heat
Cool.
on the first couple of their tours when they came through. I mean, we didn't tour with them, but we played with them. We opened for them in Lawrence back before they had a record or anything. And that was pretty rad. And all the other cool stuff that kind of came through. I'm trying to remember some of those bands, but the Cowgel Bone Review, which was the bluegrass band, we played like there's a little bar on campus called The Crossing that had been there forever and ever, and we played with Bad Livers,
Okay.
Many times. Played with those guys.
Cool.
Played with, I'm trying to remember some of those other bands, but yeah, we didn't like tour or anything. And we rarely had like official gigs. We would just go and take over someplace. Like sometimes we would just go unplug the jukebox at this bar and and play, and then demand that the bartenders give us beer.
Yeah, just take over and say, hey, we'll play for beer.
We're gonna play. We're just gonna play, and you know, we were decent. So I think after a while they were like, that's cool. Live music will get people excited, and so they paid us some beer, and we were fine with that. We were all
amazing,
young dumb youngsters. Didn't know
I
any
feel
better.
I feel like some bars may have had an atrocious experience with live music at one time or another.
Sure.
And they just kind of said no.
Yeah.
And then there's a few bars, and I'm talking specifically about a few bars in Lincoln Square in Chicago that I patronized, and I kind of, and they knew I played music, and eventually a couple of them asked me to play, and they were like, yeah, that's actually really good. I think we're going to try to do this. And it's,
Nice.
you can just see the owner go, like in some cheesy movie or something, his finger hits his lip and he goes, I like this guy.
Yeah.
I think this is good for business.
Little, dollar signs in his eyes.
Yeah. That's a common thing. But I think that at one point or another, like 20 years before that, some band came in and just did something terrible. And he just
sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so funny, man. Wow. I love the Lawrence. Well, like the culture in Lawrence is so similar to the culture in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, sure.
It's like a lot of, and funny enough, we've had some streams with some individuals talking about the Lawrence scene back in the 80s. And funny, I bet I could pull some people on here that you probably would know.
Oh, probably,
from Lincoln and some of the punk rock crossover that happened in those days with the Empty Bottle or not the Empty Bottle, the Bottleneck.
Yeah.
And some of those great venues in Lawrence, because it's a college town, so it had the vibe and everything.
Yeah, the punk rock bands, most of the good ones played at the Outhouse.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that for sure.
Yeah, that place was amazing.
Wow. So when what year did you then move from Lawrence out?
So I moved to Lawrence in 84.
Okay.
And then I moved to Chicago in 92.
Okay. So you were from Lawrence to Chicago then.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. 1992 Chicago scene. Holy moly. That's like grunge central. I mean, that was like the peak of Smashing Pumpkins and the Metro, and like they were popping off pretty hard around.
Yeah, there was a pretty heavy duty scene, and there was a newspaper article that came out. I can't remember what paper it was in, but it's notorious now because it was like Chicago is the new whatever. They had some really cheesy take on it, but it was, basically like, here are all the cool places and here are all the cool bands, and it was just this really gross. It was like a brochure basically, which of course all the locals were super pissed off about because they're like, don't ruin the rainbow. Which is exactly what happened, of course.
Oh my God.
And the Gold Star, and the Gold Star, I mean, it stayed pretty legit, but
yeah,
it got gross.
What was that? I'm sorry. What was the Kinetic Playground? So there's a bar, or at least used to be a place called the Kinetic Playground, right by the Green Mill and the big ballroom that Al Capone sort of smuggled booze from.
Yeah, I think that was the second version of,
okay.
or like the revival.
So when you say the Rainbow, are you talking about the roller rink?
Oh no. Oh man, that place was amazing. That's sad that's gone. No,
they found a bunch of bodies under that place, and it was like I think the Pumpkins filmed a video there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, the Rainbow was it's still around. It's right at the corner of Division and Damon.
Okay.
And it was a really cool place.
Nice. Okay.
Really, really, really cool. I mean, so right when let's see. Yeah, I guess I hadn't moved to Chicago yet. I'd come up here a couple times to try to find a place to live. I had some buddies I was going to live with, and that ended up falling apart. But I came up a couple times as kind of reconnaissance.
Sure.
And I had some friends up here, and I'd like go hang out with them. And the one of the first trips up, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to this bar around the corner." So we went to the Rainbow. It was my first time there. And I walked in, I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, this is a big city bar," because
Yeah.
everybody was so cool, and it was
Wow.
just like the room was just. It was you walk in, and you're like, "I'm not cool enough. I'm not cool enough to be here.
I know,
I'm not cool enough to be here."
like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Oh shit. They know I'm a poser. I'm
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
I fell off the turnip truck or whatever.
Yeah,
so-
that's funny, man. That's
but I
funny.
loved it. I was like, this is my kind of place.
But
I
that's
took it
I
immediately.
think everybody that decides to move to Chicago, you go through about a year of that.
Oh sure.
I know I did. I mean, I was lucky enough to start working at Martyrs right away.
Oh yeah.
Martyrs was one of the great music venues. It
Yeah.
was actually started by the sound guy from Shuba's, and then he started his own
I didn't know
bar.
that.
Yeah, so
Ray?
Ray used to do sound at Shuba's, and so
I did not know that.
he designed the sound system according to that. And to me, I will still say this, that the Martyrs has one of the best sounding rooms in
Oh,
Chicago
for sure.
because of that. Because
I was
Ray
gonna say that totally makes sense. That
Ray was
totally
so
makes sense.
dialed in.
The sound
I
guy
mean, he
set that up.
such a great engineer and such a great
Wow.
guy. Yeah, I loved
Yeah, I
working
like that guy.
for Ray. It was fun. But yeah, I mean, I fell into that job pretty early on. And it was like, actually, I'll tell you, my first 2 jobs, I worked for the mob in Chicago. Hilariously, by chance. I mean, because you don't know. I mean, I'm a Midwest
sure.
kid. I just,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, where the hell am I? My first job, I worked for the Chicago Performing Arts Theater, and it was totally ran by the mob.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like the police chief's son ran it, and it was like, oh Jesus! And then I'd find stacks of $100 bills like under the drawer, and it was like, what's this? And he's like, oh, I'll take that. Yeah, like crazy celebrities. His uncle was Annette Bonicella's husband. Oh God, who is it? I'm gonna kick myself. What's his name? The famous actor, musician from the 50s and 60s. Annette. I'll find his name, but I can't remember it at the moment. But he'd come in, and he would just be like, "Hey, everybody, hey," and he'd kind of shake around and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. What are we doing here? Yeah, and they just hire bartenders because they were like a dime a dozen. Somehow I ended up there, and then I worked for a music store that was like peddling drugs through the back door, and it was like, oh Jesus,
Wow.
welcome to the city,
Oh, shit.
So it was wild. But that first year, I was like, okay, you better, like, your skin better leather up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I was thrown in the shark pit for sure. So
Wow.
it took me a while to acclimate, but after that it was cool. I mean, then I felt cool going into bars, like, what you're talking about. I felt like I was one of them, but it took me a while. Yeah, it was wild. Super crazy. That's going to kill me. I'll figure out his name real quick. But so how did you, so then from 92,
Mm-hmm.
how did you fall in? So was that one of your first jobs at Lounge Acts then?
No, I didn't actually start working at Lounge Acts until like 97 or 98.
Oh, okay. What
Yeah,
did you do
it was very, very late in that whole thing. So the first job I had, actually, when I moved to Chicago, I got a job through a high school friend who her husband, when they got married, I sang at their wedding. And then he was a building maintenance guy, and he hired me. He was a dick, but he hired me. It turned out he was not a good person at all, but he hired me.
Frankie Avalon. That's who I'm thinking.
Oh, Frankie Avalon. I didn't know they were actually married. I didn't realize that was.
No, I don't think they were. They were always married in their movies.
Yeah,
stuff.
totally. Yeah. Well, not married, but dating.
Dating, yeah.
Because teenagers didn't get married. I mean,
right, exactly.
They were swinging singles on the beach.
Wore weird shorts and.
Yeah, they sure did.
But Frankie Avalon would come in and just like, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Anyway, it was weird.
That is very weird.
I won't interrupt you.
So I worked in building maintenance. I was a building maintenance assistant in the suburbs. I was at like Wilmette, Winnetka,
Okay.
all the hoity-toity suburbs,
Sure.
Evanston, like doing all that kind of stuff. It was fine, and it was decent money,
Yeah.
which was great because, man, talk about culture shock. Like, moving to Chicago from Lawrence, I think the last apartment I lived in, my rent was it's like $50 a month,
Ooh,
I think.
that's way cheap.
Yeah, and the highest I ever paid was 115 a month for. I mean, it was, you know, I had roommates, of course,
Yeah,
but
yeah, for
you know,
sure.
we just take over a house and we'd split up the rooms and all that kind of stuff. But
Good
so
idea.
then my first apartment in Chicago was like $350. I thought I was like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And you know, like, and all then food was like twice as much money. Like, not even
Oh,
kidding.
yeah.
It was a shock.
Yeah, we
going
paid
and buying-
$1,500 for rent, and that was just outrageous to
Oh
us.
my God.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
like 4 of us paying. I mean, you know, coming from Lincoln, where it was like $150, $200 a month or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Like, wow, welcome. Yeah, definitely a kick in the pants to like make your rent every month.
Yeah. So then after so then that actually didn't last very long. He was a very hard guy to work with, and he was saying like, I don't really need an assistant, so you're fired. I'm like, great, thanks. It's Christmas, awesome. So then I had to find jobs, and luckily I had worked at a vintage clothing store in Denver when I was a teenager, and I made a resume, and I had that and some other stuff on there, and I went into Strange Cargo, and I got a job there, and
great place.
It was a great place. And then eventually I was co-manager with this other guy, Rodney. And that was super fun. Like, what an amazing place to work. I actually still have clothes I bought from there. That was really cool. And then I worked a bunch of vintage clothing jobs for like a few years. I worked at there's a place called Atomic Bungalow.
Okay.
There was one other place too. And then there was Flashy Trash. I worked there for a minute. And then I actually, because I had a little truck, Howard, the owner, was like, I'm going to move you to the warehouse, and you're going to manage the warehouse. So you're going to pull stuff for me and bring it down, and like sort through the stuff that gets dropped off there. And so that was
a great gig to score some of the best country clothes in the world.
It was cool.
Like Western shirts and all the nudie shirts and all that. That's great.
He didn't get any of that stuff.
Oh, really?
No, sadly, no. I don't think I ever saw a piece of vintage Western wear in that shop.
Oh, really?
It was not his thing.
What a drag, man. Bummer.
Yeah, it was not his thing. No, all the vintage Western stuff I've got came from other places. Sadly not from
Okay. Wow.
But I mean, I got other cool stuff from there. Like when I moved to Chicago, I was kind of on the rockabilly borderline, and so I wore like a lot of 50s gabardine stuff and that kind of thing. And so that was a great place. And my girlfriend, I got her awesome stuff from there. So she really push-up bras and that kind of stuff. She was very stoked.
Nice.
Yeah, you were gonna say?
Oh, no, I was just going to say the rockabilly scene and the music scene in general in Chicago is just outrageously awesome.
Yeah,
so,
it was so good.
Working at Martyrs, like I mentioned earlier, they used to do the Big C Jamboree.
Yeah,
and I don't know if they still do that.
No, it's done. No, it shut down a couple years ago. Yeah,
right. And just for those listening, the Big C Jamboree was one of the greatest rock and roll 50s parties. People would show up with their cars, and they would show up dressed like it was, fancy ball, and they were to the nines. And all the chicks had the updos, and the guys had the pompadours, and they were dressed and danced and partied like it was mid 50s. It was such a fun night. And man, I wish there was a night here like that where everybody could kind of relive that on the regular, because I think that was the success about that is that you knew that it was coming around again. Mm-hmm. So if you were sucked into that scene, you would go home and learn those songs on guitar and start dressing and looking like those cats. And you would come back. And I saw it, man. I saw this high school kid do that. And he showed up and just blew everybody away and started shaking like a fish on stage. And people were just losing their minds over this.
Nice.
Kid. I wonder what happened to that kid. I bet he had a good career because they would let people, jump up on stage and do a song.
Yeah.
And a collective experience. But
yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, man.
Super damn fun.
I always wondered, Chicago to me, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but I thought the scene was a little less communal than the Midwest, for example, Lawrence or Nebraska, whereas you created relationships with a group of bands. that developed into what we call a scene. Now, I didn't get that a lot in Chicago. I mean, I guess it was microcosms, but I know I'm talking to the wrong person because the Hideout was totally that.
Yeah.
But it took a lot to break into that, you know?
I can see that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like for a person just moving to the city, it took a lot of work to really kind of get into those scenes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, actually, it's one of the things that that ultimately I end up valuing about Chicago, weirdly, and I'll explain why that is. Because I definitely, I had to run the gauntlet for sure. Like it was not a like, oh, welcome, stranger. Do your thing, whatever. So what I loved about that actually was that there was this quality seal on everything. So it was like, you had to pass muster basically. You couldn't just like come and do your shitty thing and people be like, oh yay, good for you, buddy.
Yeah, there was a bar to hit. Yeah. And that made me try harder for sure. And
I was gonna say it made me really work, and it made me figure out how to do what I wanted to do and really do it in a way that was, like my thing.
Sure.
So that I could, brand it, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But I love that about Chicago actually. But because then once you've proven your worth, then it's like all, at least it felt to me this way. Like all doors are open, and I found that people were very supportive. I mean, there were certainly, I think there were like sub scenes that were not particularly supportive, that were kind of cutthroat. And that was sort of shitty, but
yeah. And I always kind of played gigs. I remember, playing gigs. I've talked about this before where like, we'd play an awesome show with a band and we'd be like, hey, we should do this again.
Oh,
and they'd be like, hey, high fives, awesome, see you later. Yeah. And then we'd just never see them again. And
I had
I never got that vibe, in Nebraska or something.
Oh God, no, Lawrence was the absolute opposite. I mean, we all went to each other's shows because there was nothing else to do. It was like in the summer,
right. We support each other.
Yeah. If you were a townie, especially, like you would just you'd go to everybody's damn show. You didn't care what it was. And honestly, most of the music scene in Lawrence in the 80s was house parties. It wasn't even the bars.
Sure. People
would just set up in the living room, and sometimes there would be a tip jar pass, but almost never. Like Kansas did not believe in paying for music. It was just not a thing. So you got beer generally. You got fed beer.
Sure. And man, I miss house shows. Those are the best.
Oh my God, man. Yeah. Some of the best musical experiences of my life were in at house shows, especially in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
So much fun. Jesus.
So what was your first band in Chicago then?
So I have to explain why this is the way it was. So I was a theater major, believe it or not. I realized eventually that I had this moment. Actually, it was pretty funny. I was not great at remembering lines. I was not great at learning lines because I didn't want to spend the time learning lines. It was very boring to me. It was irritating as hell to me. And it got me in trouble. I mean, like I was usually able to get it together by the opening night, but I'm sure I was notoriously bad.
Yeah.
For that.
I'm actually the same way. I actually studied theater in college and I was terrible at lines.
What?
I'm not kidding. I did not know that about you. I was obsessed with writing my own shows and wanted to direct, and I ended up acting in a lot of stuff as well.
Crazy.
But, because I mean, really, when you're an entertainer and you love music and you're like 17 and people are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, well,
that's a good point.
I want to be on stage. That's what I want to be.
That's so funny. Yeah.
But there's no classes for like rock and roll.
No,
there's no. So the best like, to learn the lights and this and the spectrum of, and the proscenium of a stage, all these kinds of things, you had to study theater.
Right.
And it kind of made sense, but I despised like doing some of the shows I had to do because it wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I got you.
And it was funny. I was even cast as Elvis Presley in La Panagile, written by Steve Martin, which is one of the greatest shows in the
really.
It's awesome. And they cast me as Elvis, which is so funny because that's all I wanted to do is just be on the stage and sing and perform. And so,
That's great.
yeah. So anyway, no, you and I have that in common. I did not know
That
that.
is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a kid, like I wanted to be Gene Kelly. I was like, that guy is awesome.
Oh
I
shit.
want
Yeah.
to like dance and sing and
Yeah. Yeah.
be cool looking and whatever. I had no idea.
Oh, Gene Kelly's the best. One
Yeah,
of
that
the
guy's
best.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I was a theater major, and I finally got to the point in Kansas where I was at KU and I was not graduating, and my girlfriend actually sat down and tallied up my completed hours, and she was like, okay, so you have only actually completed like 3 of your requirements. Everything else has been electives. Like all you're taking is like ballroom dance and like let's see, architectural history and poetry writing 101 and stuff. I was like, I want to do stuff that's cool. I want to do something I'm interested in. And she was like, you're throwing your life away and whatever. And
Bartender.
yeah, right. Yeah. So I was, but I actually really did love theater. And I was decent at it. I think there were moments where I was actually very good at it, but mostly I was not great. But I really wanted to do it. And so I decided I was done with KU and I was gonna go somewhere else and finish my theater degree. And I actually got into Rutgers.
Oh wow.
No, Carnegie Mellon, and I couldn't go because I had a Pell Grant, and that was not a state school, so I couldn't use my Pell Grant, and there was no way for me to come up with the money.
Wow.
So an old friend of mine was like, "You should move to Chicago. It's a great town. There's lots of great stuff going on. It's a great theater scene." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I came, checked it out, and got into some shows. And then this one show I got cast in was it was nebulously a theater piece, but the concept was like sad, like the saddest music, the saddest possible music. So whether it was thematically sad or musically sad or whatever, like it could be upbeat musically, but then the lyrics are just like gut wrenching.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
and so that was the concept. And so we picked all these songs that were actually pretty great. We had a really interesting set list. And then the idea was that we were all characters, and it didn't really make any sense. Like thinking about it now, it's like, so I was a Scottish punk rocker. So I had I already had a mohawk. So I just went all the way with the mohawk, and I had, but then I would be playing the drums, and then I would get up and I wore a kilt, and I get up and I'd sing some just like heartbreaking sort of country song. And that was like the shtick. So it was pretty interesting. But so we were called the Bitter Pills, which is actually, I came up with the name. I was very proud of that. And we actually played at Theater Oobleck, and we opened for the Handsome Family really early on.
Okay.
And I don't know, we played a bunch, like we played around. We never toured or anything. We cut a cassette.
Oh yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah. Nice. And then after the show ended, we were like, well, let's just keep being a band, but without the dumb costumes and stuff. And so then we started like learning other stuff, and people would bring in original material.
Did you keep the name the Bitter Pills?
Yes, we were still the Bitter Pills. Yes.
That's a great band name.
Yeah, thanks. I was really proud of that. It worked so nicely for the concept. And it was a fun band for a while, but it just kind of fell apart because there were just too many ideas of what we should be doing. And the final straw for me was, well, so at one point the head honcho, this guy, Ted, he was a great guy. They're all really super great people. But he had this idea. He was like, we're going to learn Greek jazz.
Oh, geez.
Like, wow. Okay. So I had to learn 7/4 time and 7/5 time, and it was intense. Or 5/4 time and 7/4 time, and it was
wow.
It was insane. And we would play these songs, and it was interesting but not great. And then like the next it was like a couple practices, and the next practice he came in, he's like, okay, whole different idea. Here's what we're gonna do. So Elle, his girlfriend, who's also in the band, she was kind of the co-head, and he's like, we were at this contra dance event, and which she'd been going to for years. And he was like, we're gonna be a contra dance band. We're gonna get all these gigs playing contra dances. And Elle was like, contra dance bands don't get paid, and
oh sure,
there's already a glut of them. Like there's like 2 of them, and that's already too many.
Oh, wow.
So, but we learned all these songs, and they're fun to dance to, but they are terrible to play. Like it was so mind-numbingly tedious and
Sure.
painful playing these songs. It was not fun at all. And so eventually, I just came in one day and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm really sorry. I can't do this anymore." And I'm working too much. I got all this other stuff going on, and so I let them down easy.
Yeah, sure. Oh, wow. Interesting, man. So that was
So that was my first band.
at least you got your, your foot in the door, so to speak. And
it was definitely a good way to shake off the Kansas dust.
Right.
For sure. But it took a few years for me to put another band together. That was a bluegrass band. We were actually pretty good. We were called Ground Speed, which is a Flat and Scruggs instrumental song.
Okay.
Actually, I came up with that one too. I come to think of it. And we actually played. We opened for Dale Watson. We opened for
Nice.
Ralph Stanley. We played 2 shows with him and his band at Shuba's.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It was a really big deal to us. We played some really good stuff. It was pretty cool. And so that was like my second one. And then that one fell apart. And actually that fell apart because George Gale, who was the banjo / mandolin player, he came into practice one night and was like, "Hey guys, sorry, but I got to quit the band because, I've been working on this Jimmy Martin documentary and it's taking up all my time and I just can't focus on this. Like I got to get this film done." And we were like,
wow.
"Well, what's that all about?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to these shows and I'm going to hang out with Jimmy Martin and, filming him and recording him and whatever." And we were like, "Well, can we help?" And he was like, "Yeah, okay, sure."
Jesus.
So the band just became his road crew. Basically, it's like we didn't all go together, but like I did help with I was a boom mic operator, help with lighting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super fun. And then actually a little bit later on when he was getting closer to the end of the film, I got to stay with him at Jimmy Martin's house a couple nights, which is mind-blowingly cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking awesome. And then as he was finishing up the film, he needed some research done. So he actually hired me and paid me to be his researcher. And so I actually got in contact with all these people and got some there are very few photographs of Jimmy Martin when he played with Bill Monroe, because when he left the band, Bill Monroe was so angry and heartbroken that he destroyed all the photographs of the band that Jimmy Martin was in. So there were like 2 that were known. And my buddy George was like, we need one that nobody's ever seen. It's really important for for this film to be legitimate, to have some of this like deeper stuff. So I helped him find a couple photographs that had never been seen before, which was pretty cool.
Goodness,
yeah, it was amazing. And then I got to help him find some live recordings and some like TV performances and stuff like that. So that was really, really cool. It was super fun.
Where was Jimmy Martin living at this time?
He was in Nashville.
Okay. So
you guys,
so you traveled down. Okay.
Yeah, we went from Chicago down to Nashville. We went all over, man. We went to Indiana and all these southern states and documented his shows and talked to his fans and talked to the other performers, like talked to Jim and Jesse and whatever, like
out there and available.
Oh yeah, it came out in 2003, I think.
Okay.
Something like that.
What is that called?
It's called King of Bluegrass: The Life and Times of Jimmy Martin.
Wow, that's
actually I've got the let's see, I've got the record right here.
I'm gonna look that up. Life and Times.
Yeah, man.
Very cool.
Yeah, let's see.
All these things I did not know about you. Very cool stuff.
Oh shit! I thought I had the record sitting right in front. Yeah, that's a shame.
Wow.
I wonder where I put that damn record. I couldn't find it. There's a great soundtrack to it. That actually came out on Thrill Jockey.
Oh wow, which is a huge label.
Yeah, it's one of Chicago's most important indie labels.
That is wild, man.
Yeah.
So that was Monroe and Lester Flats and all those guys. I mean, you were at the center of it with talking to that guy. I mean, he's like,
man, it was crazy.
That's like 50s, 60s. That's like the peak of great bluegrass.
Well, he's Jimmy Martin his lead singing, it was one of those things where Bill was able to go up to these super high heights of Jimmy, and it just, the sound of it is just like amazing. And Jimmy was a really incredible guitar player, and he had a very distinctive style, and it was spectacular.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
that guy was a real piece of work.
What an interesting avenue to get involved in that project.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that's crazy. So after that, what, like, so what did this guy do? Did he continue to make movies, or was it?
Well, no. So he finished that, and then and got into some festivals, and put it on DVD and on cassette and whatever. Yeah. And then she started on a Charlie Poole documentary.
Oh, cool.
Which, and amazingly, like, his timing was great. Talk about timing. He had the foresight to immediately just go and interview anybody that was still alive that knew Charlie Poole.
Oh, wow.
And he got interviews with people that, like, a day before they died, like almost literally, not quite, but pretty close.
He must have been pretty old. Yeah. Charlie Poole's going back to the 20s.
Yeah. Right. So I actually teased him about it recently. He came on my show on my Friday afternoon thing a couple months ago, and I was like, "So, hey man, what's going on with that Charlie Poole documentary?" He's like, "Oh yeah, well."
Oh no.
He's like, "Yeah, I got to finish that." I was like, "Yeah, you do, man. What the fuck?"
So it's still it's still looming.
Yeah, I think he's got. I feel like it's a thing where he has all of the important footage and all of the important interviews. It's just a matter of getting, like, there are certain shots he needs to get in his mind to make it work. And then the other thing is that he's got to figure out a way of tying everything together. And so the idea originally was that he was going to, he actually talked to R. Crumb and tried to get R. Crumb to agree to animating the film.
Oh my gosh.
Which would have been so good.
That would have been monumental. Yeah.
He wouldn't do it though.
He turned it down?
Yeah, he wouldn't do it.
Oh, that's a bummer. That's interesting.
Such a shame.
Well, he was probably pretty wanted at that point.
Oh, yeah, we see. Yeah, this was middle 2000s, so early 2000s. Yeah, he was massive. So
tons of people were doing documentaries.
It was a shame, but I mean, he could certainly find. I should actually text him after this and be like, dude, we should find some new. There are all kinds of new animators that would probably do you justice.
I'm sure, man. Make this thing happen. That's a big deal now. A lot of animators are working on documentaries. It seems like more and more documentaries I see animation. It's pretty cool.
Well, and of course now in this time period, all these
Mike
shows
Judge
are getting finished with anime. Oh yeah, are you talking about Tales from the
Tour Bus?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's brilliant.
If people out there have not seen that, I think it's on Cinemax.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right, or Showtime?
I think you're right. I think it's Cinemax. It's something I don't have. Is the unfortunate?
Yeah, and it was kind of annoying. I had to download that to watch it, and then. I mean, what it is. I guess he got the best deal from them. But Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead, and what was the other show? King of the Hill. Yeah. And so he is. I don't know, man. I didn't realize he was fascinated with these people, but they have George Jones episodes. And Jennings. I mean, it goes deep in. Yeah,
there's a Johnny Paycheck one. That was Tammy Wynette one. Yeah, they're amazing.
I didn't know Johnny. I bought the best of Johnny Paycheck album in 1997.
Okay.
From a little record store that I filled in at. They needed help, and I said, sure, I'll do it. And he said, well, you can. Here's how you open the CDs and not rip the tab, and you can download whatever you want. And I was like, great. That's good, perfect. So I actually ended up buying with store credit. I bought a copy of I think it's called The Real Mr. Heartache.
Oh yeah.
And it's the best of, and it changed my life.
Oh man.
I didn't realize Johnny Paycheck was so incredible. I mean, I just knew Take This Job and Shove It.
Totally.
I didn't know all of his other catalogs hits and stuff. And not only that, just like if you dig into the person that he was.
Yeah.
He was like the real true to life like rebel. Like he was crazy.
Yeah, he
And
was crazy.
so when they on this show anyway, if they tell his story and it's animated, it's fascinating. I really urge people to go check it out and watch it. It's really funny. But some of those stories are great. But
Yeah, he's a dark character. That kid.
yeah, oh man, that era just seemed dark. Like
Yeah.
if you weren't stumbling in with pills stuck to your face, like you just weren't cool, or whatever it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
totally.
seemed like everybody back then was just
That
out
guy
of
was.
control.
Oh yeah, but that guy was so talented, Johnny
Yes.
Paycheck. He's just so talented, like a really amazing songwriter, great harmony singer, like great instrumentalist. He played with all these incredible. He played with Ray Price and he played with George Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard. I've never really dug deep in this, but I've heard people say that George Jones really kind of learned how to be George Jones from Johnny Paycheck, like from
Is that right?
watching how he performed and how he sang and that kind of stuff,
Interesting.
which I can see.
See that too. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that real Mr. Heartache record is unbelievable. It's like such a brilliant compilation. Yeah, it blew my mind too, because like I grew up, like country radio of my childhood was all his 70s hits. So I knew, Don't Take Her, She's All I Got, and Slide
Great
Off Your
song.
Set Sheets, and and then Take This Job and Shove It, which I thought was the dumbest song ever.
Yeah.
And still
But it
kinda
was
do.
always the most rememberable one.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
it became like that song became the only song that Johnny Paycheck did, basically.
and it was
Like
funny
everything
to
else
see
got
that
lost.
the unions all latched to him. Did you
Right.
Did you see that episode of that show? I don't know if you did, but they talk about how he would show up at work sites and everybody would
I
stop
forgot about
work.
that. Yes.
They just stop working, and then all of a sudden he'd just sing a cappella with no PA system, and all the bosses were like, "Get back to work!" And then here he is going, "Take this job and shove it." It's like, what the hell's going on? And the workers were all like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
what a bizarre thing to do! Like hire him just to come out and sing at your work site."
Pretty awesome though. I guess
pretty good.
I guess he had a lot of mental health issues, which is really sad. Like he would fall into depravity and just kind of get lost, and then some record company executive would be like, let's go find that guy, clean him up, get him back in. I think we got to hit our hands if he sings it. And so they'd bring him in and get him going, and he'd cut a couple records and keep it good, and then he'd fall apart again and go fall into drugs and alcohol.
That's a common tale with some of the greats, man.
Sad but true.
Wow, very interesting. Well, so let's get into a little. I don't want to keep you too long, but let's get into what I know. You're an avid record collector, and so am I. And my father, I don't know if he's watching out there, but he's an avid 45 collector. Yeah, and he's out there somewhere. I'm sure he'll see this at some point, but he collects 45s and has for years.
Cool.
And like you said earlier in our earlier discussions, not recorded as when you first joined tonight when I saw you, you mentioned something really interesting. You were saying that 45s are cool because, and this is a true statement, 45 records are cool because a lot of bands cut their teeth with those before labels were giving them full LP opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
Now, for those out there listening, in the world of music, to get a full album from a label was pretty, that kind of meant, hey, you're cutting a pretty big deal with the label.
Right.
But they give you an opportunity to release a single if they liked you. And typically a single would be the flip side, two sides of a 45. And then they would, and then that was your shot at the big time, right? So you would find some really rare cuts that were actually pretty kick-ass from bands that either just withered away or were not given the proper opportunity. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So let me clarify a little bit though. So my understanding of so albums originally, actually, check this out. I can show you right here. So this is not a great example, but this is too big for what would have been an album in the 50s. But so what companies would do if they were signing somebody to a major label, they would put out singles, and then after they'd put out enough singles that actually sold decently, then they would put an album together, which was all the singles. And so
full album.
Yeah, and so often it was actually a book of singles, and then eventually it became LPs, and they would put out an LP and it would have all your singles. But they would go in and do a session, and it would be like 3 hours or whatever, and they would have to cut a certain number of songs. and then that was what you would get. So that was like the major label thing. But then what you're talking about is like the smaller label stuff. What happened with that was often, I mean, it's sure there would be, like, even with the major stuff, like, yes, you would put out a single and they would see how it did and maybe give you another one and see how that did. And if you charted, then great. And then they would maybe keep you going and then eventually put out a record. But, but what's I think is really cool about 45s is that these little tiny touring and local bands, often the only thing that they could ever afford to put together or manage to put together would be one single or a couple of singles. And so, so, you know, like you find, I found stuff, I've got, you know, boxes of stuff that's, it was the only single this performer ever put out. And it's, you know, that they wrote both sides of the record and it's amazing. It's like super heartfelt and really, you know, beautiful. Sometimes, not what I would call store-bought. So, you know, a little scruffy. Like I call it home goods. What I refer to as home goods is like, they're trying to sound like a top 40 Nashville country band, but they don't quite know how to do it. And so it's their approximation. And it's amazing because you get what they're trying to do and they're so earnest and it's so much fun and so great to hear.
Those are the gems. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the stuff. Yeah, for sure. So,
and so like you come across these 45s when you're digging in record stores, like you said, that are rare to the point where even the owner of the current owner of them they don't know what they're worth. And so you as a knower or somebody looking for these rare pieces, kind of has an inclination of what they might be worth, and maybe you get a better deal that way.
Yeah. You know, maybe I'm not, I apologize for disagreeing with you. I think maybe more accurate would be to say that, like, valuable to me, because
sure. Oh, as the who are you talking about? Who's me, the collector?
So me as somebody who really loves country music, because like certainly there are rare country 45s, but most of the rare stuff that's kind of in that ballpark is rockabilly, and that there's like, you know, $1,000, $5,000 rockabilly 45s, like super rare stuff.
So they might not be worth monetarily a retail value to a store owner.
Yes. Yeah, but to me, like,
that makes sense.
Honestly, often I'll go to some record store like on tour or whatever, and I'll go and I'll be like, hey, where's your country record ghetto? And they'll be offended, and I'll be like, well, okay, so where's your country section? Oh, it's in the bathroom. It's under the sink. I'm like, okay, well, you've proven my point. So then I'll go dig through there and I'll pull stuff out and I'll bring a little portable record player with me and I'll listen to it. And I'll find stuff where I'm like, this is amazing. This 45 is so good. And for me, it's just, this is awesome. And I love this. And I can't wait to play this and share this with my friends and whatever. But there's also a part of me, because I'm an American and capitalist. So I'm also like, well, it'd be awesome if this were really valuable. And then it never is. Never, ever. I think
though it's not the record. It's not that the record owner, you know, it's not his fault that he can't sell it. But I mean, what makes a record good? Is it the fact that it sells a lot?
No,
not to the avid collector, right?
Oh, right, sure.
But to the layman, it means, if it's not selling, I don't want it in my store.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
You know, which is a shame, is what you're saying. You're like, I want this record's so good that I think it should be worth something more than it is. You know, and that's a weird place.
Yeah, it is. But the lucky thing about that, of course, is that I can't afford rockabilly 45. So, which is fine, because I don't really care about that music that much anyway at this point. But I love country music, and it's still actually pretty easy to find small label country 45s. And even, I mean, there are tons, like on my radio show, I play all kinds of, you know, major label B-sides or like single only releases. Like there's amazing stuff that Dolly Parton and Porter Wagner recorded that were never on an LP. Like it's 45 only, and just amazing, like super incredible cuts.
Oh, wow.
So,
are you a guy that buys any hand booklets that talk about rarities?
Well, there are only a couple, and none of my 45s are in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's all rockabilly stuff.
Oh,
I mean, it claims it's like rockabilly and country price guide. I'm like,
That's
awesome.
weird. Yeah, that's crazy. Because like
it was I think it was written by a German guy, and their whole thing is like rockabilly, and then when they're talking about country, they're talking about like country boppers.
Oh, sure.
Or country rockers, so it's like borderline rockabilly, or the guy was a rockabilly guy, had like a couple of rockabilly singles, and then did some country stuff, and because of his earlier work, his country stuff is valuable and important.
Oh, interesting. Well, I was telling you about my uncle, Dick Allison, who was one of Nebraska's very first pioneers of music and recordings. And he started out with bluegrass old time. He was in a band called the Rainbow Valley Boys. And then it turned into the Bromes, which, before the Bromes in 55, he got picked up by the Grand Ole Opry and was doing country.
Damn.
He was on the road with George Jones and Minnie Pearl and Ray Price.
Oh, man, that's so cool.
And so that turned into like 58, 59. He wrote a single that was on an album on a label out of Nebraska called Dream Records, which, and I find it on German websites. There's like eBay. You can still get it on eBay. There's people out there still selling it, which is crazy because they didn't print very many of those.
Oh yeah.
But it's like a wanted record. Like people out there know of it, and so it's kind of a wacky scenario of like, okay, is that how it worked? Like, how did that get on this sort of database of like wanted albums? That's kind of an interesting.
Yeah, I think the way that happens is that all those rockabilly collectors, like that was a big 70s thing, and so and they all had ways of sort of meeting each other and finding each other. Like they go to, conferences and markets and whatever, and they would socially network, and they would get each other's cards or whatever, sign up for each other's newsletters or.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This tune is not, it's on YouTube. You can check it out. It's called Dream World of Love, and it's not rockabilly at all. It's like a ballad. It's a ballad. I mean, it's like a dreamy love song. Yeah. So it's not even a rockabilly album really. So, but it's made it on a lot of, from what I've seen, it's all over on the internet, but,
that's cool.
But man, it's so you're more interested in the country finds. So,
yeah, I mean, I would love to find. I mean, I have some rockabilly stuff that I've come across, but it's the really good stuff. I feel like the number of really great rockabilly 45s is pretty small, to be honest. Like to me, it's like let's see, like Joe Ducktail Clay and Glenn. Like those guys are top notch in my book.
Cool.
And in completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And then I forget this guy's name. You probably know his name. He's he did a song. Oh, The Lonesome Drifter. Is that right? Is that right? Lonesome Drifter.
I've heard of that.
Oh, no, that's Hank Williams's alter ego. He's the Lonesome Something. And he had this song called Eager Boy, which is really, really cool song. It's primitive and weird and awesome.
Yeah, Lonesome Drifters, Eager Boy.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, a band called the Lonesome Drifters.
Okay.
Yeah, man. 1958 vinyl. Yep.
It's amazing. I got a repress of that. There's no way I'd ever find an original copy. That fucking.
Okay, cool. So what are your cherished finds? Let's get into that.
Yeah. Let's see. Well,
we should tell people kind of what you do. I mean, just so everybody knows, Lawrence is a well-known, I would call you well-known because I know a lot of people that know. Yeah. You're a well-known DJ in the Chicago area, and you do a lot of that spinning from here and there.
Yeah, I have a weekly radio show every Wednesday, and it's a 2-hour thing.
Where is that? So we can.
It's on WLPN, Lumpin' Radio. So if you're in Chicago, it's 105.5 FM. It's actually a pretty strong signal, unless you're in Bridgeport, which is ironic because that's where it broadcasts out of. But and then before COVID, I had regular gigs around town. I was spinning at the Sportsman's Club and where else? California Clipper and the Hideout sometimes, and just a bunch of different kind of random stuff. And I DJ shows, like I get to open shows by spinning records and spin stuff in between acts and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So just so you know, folks, what you're dealing with here, he spins records on the regular. And we were going to talk a little bit. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long, but tell me about like your top, like, 2 or 3 finds that you found over the years. Or what are your favorite go-tos when you spin records?
Let's see. Well, so when I spin stuff, it's slightly different than some of the. I guess on my radio show, I play all kinds of different stuff. When I'm DJing out, I tend to keep it a little more upbeat and a little more like I don't play a lot of the kind of jankier stuff, which I also love, just because people in a bar, unless they're like big country music heads, they're not going to get it. They're going to be like, "Why is this song so weird?"
It's too deep. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll play Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and George Jones and Loretta Lynn and Tammy Wynette.
Sure. Some of the more digestible stuff.
Yeah, but I won't play any of the hits. Like I'll play like deeper album cuts or single only releases that are amazing. Like they're just so good.
Yeah.
Or even like minor hits that just nobody remembers anymore because, for most people, Johnny Cash only has like 10 songs tops. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Same with Merle Haggard. Like,
Johnny Cash. Like, they obviously want to hear Folsom here.
Yeah, it's just exactly. I was gonna say, Folsom Prison or Cocaine Blues or whatever. Yeah, or like some of that weird later stuff. Like that's all a lot of people know.
That's how you judge a crowd, right? As a performer, you're like, okay, if he asks me to play Hurt, then I think he needs to leave.
What usually happens? No, that's perfect though. But what usually happens is somebody will come up and ask me for the exact person I'm playing right then.
Oh, right, that you're playing. Yeah.
Because they just like there's something about them.
That's for it in the middle of the song, right?
Yeah, totally. And there's something about them it reminds me of like, oh, that kind of reminds me of so and so.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, hey, can you play?
Their drunk subconscious mind just heard you tell them, like, or the mind just heard you tell that person, hey, this next song's a Buck Owens song.
Oh, except I never actually with my DJ nights, I never use a microphone. I just spin records.
Oh, really? You don't ever count stuff. Okay.
No, but so subconsciously they're like George Jones, and then I'll come up and go, hey, could you play some George Jones? I'll be like, well, how about this one I'm playing right now?
Oh, wow. See, I've experienced it where I'm like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get into some Buck Owens for you. And then there's some drunk will wobble up and be like, can you play some Buck Owens? It's like, well, dude, we just let us finish this one. And then we'll play Tiger by the Tail. It's like, dude.
Oh, Lord.
So crazy. No, you're right, though. That's amazing. So what? So tell. So you're spinning more of the digestible stuff. Or what about on your radio show? What kind of stuff do you like to get into?
So it's kind of a weird adventure, actually. And more so now that I'm doing it from home. It takes hours to put the damn thing in here. It's like an 8 to 10 hour ordeal to put a show together. Because I'll start going through boxes of stuff and I'll just pull things out and listen to them, and I'll come up with kind of a concept of like, if I can figure out what the first song is going to be, then I'll build the rest of the show around it. And I try to play, well, my ideal, which rarely happens, is I try to play one like 21st century country artist per set.
Oh, okay.
It's like Ameripolitan stuff, like
sure.
not top 40 necessarily, but I will play some major stuff if it's really, really good and not overplayed.
Right.
But I'll play some kind of weird folkier stuff, and I'll play some weird like 60s flangey stuff, and I'll play like a couple of recognizable hits that haven't just been bludgeoned into the ground, and then I'll have something that's kind of on the rockabilly side of stuff, and I'll play some bluegrass. And then I just realized recently that I hadn't really been playing much of the sort of weirder stuff. And I used to do it a lot more. I do like a whole set where I'd be like, okay, check it out. Here's this really weird song, and here's what you should listen for. Like, they think this is amazing, so listen for this, and then I'll play it.
Yeah.
it's really fun because I'm like, I'm sharing my massive nerdery about country music, and it's really fun. And I don't know if anybody responds because we, at the station we didn't have a phone, and there's no way for anybody to contact me.
I'm sure people catch it. I know. I love that stuff when DJs spin their web of building their show. There's here in Lincoln, my wife runs KZUM, and there's a ton of great DJs on that program, and that's the ones that do the theme shows are the best, or they'll do you have to figure out the theme,
right.
Like that's a great one too.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, man. Well, good for you. That's super cool.
Thanks, man.
And we should talk just briefly because I'm having a late dinner with the wife, but
nice.
I will ask you, speaking of dinner, in these times of COVID, you live in what neighborhood of Chicago again? You're up
I'm in Humboldt Park.
Humboldt Park. Okay. And if anybody's familiar with Chicago, there's great grocery stores on tons of great little neighborhood pockets and little grocery stores around. How have you been cooking at home? I'm curious because this show is called Dishin with Musicians.
Oh, that's right.
And it was formed from the idea of talking about some food and talking about, musicians that cook food, and us musicians are historic for coming up with weird concoctions to eat as quickly as possible so we can get back to scales, of course. And so right. In your case, it might not be your case, but for my case, it is. I constantly love quick food, and that can be pretty dangerous. But I also love to cook. I love to cook. I really do, and I'm good at it. I think I really am. But so what have you been eating lately?
Well, luckily, my parents both cooked, and I learned from an early age how to cook. So I'm super lucky. Yeah.
So did your mom teach you, or your dad, both?
So my mom really taught me, but I learned all my dad's stuff. He wouldn't show me. He's kind of like, he's a great guy, but he was not. He'd just be like, "Get the hell out of here." I'm like, "Oh." But
so what, was he making different food than your mom?
So he had let's see, his big recipes were, well, his best thing was rice cakes, but like breakfast rice cakes, so not like the crunchy dry whatever. Right. So he would take leftover rice and he would add chicken bouillon and egg and then like salt and pepper, and that's kind of it, I think. And then he'd just put in just enough egg to bind the rice. That's and wild. Then he'd cook them in a skillet, and they would brown up on both sides, and they were so good. So
was the rice cooked before he packed it?
Yeah, it was leftover rice. Yeah, leftover cooked rice.
Right. Yeah, okay, leftover rice. It wasn't like al dente, like kind of half cooked or whatever. Okay.
No, they were still very dense because it was chewy rice. But man, they were so good. And I remember watching him from afar, like I was kind of peeking in and be like,
really?
What's he doing? Yeah, and I learned how to do it. I figured it out. And so one morning I made them for breakfast, and he was kind of pissed off.
Oh, I bet he was secretly proud, though. I bet he was.
Maybe later. He was. That was not where he was at that time. He was not.
That son of a bitch.
He was not into. Yeah, he's like I said, great guy, but he just was not. Like, he had his own thing going on. He didn't want to be distracted or bothered. He was like, "Kid, get away from me. I got my thing going on."
Did you ever get into like fried Spam? Did you ever eat Spam?
Well, it's funny you say that because my father loved and still loves Spam. So really? He would, but his thing was, well, luckily my mom and I neither one of us, like, we liked it okay, but we weren't crazy about it. So it was great for him because he was like, "I'm buying this can of Spam, I'm eating the whole damn thing myself."
Oh, yeah.
But he would fry it up. Like, he would slice it and then fry it in the pan.
I was always, my dad liked it a lot, if I remember correctly. And, yeah, man, like, I want to say in college, I think out of pure desperation because we were broke, I think my roommate and I were like, "Yeah, let's just try it. We'll just get a can or two and try it." And we ended up frying it like fried bologna,
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little saltier than bologna.
Yeah.
And man, I tell you, it was a life changer. It really was. Like, you could eat like pretty well for, under $3.
That's true.
And and when you fry it up, it's really good. And some people are just like, "No, man, like, I don't know what's in that." It's like a hot dog. I mean, you don't know what's in it.
Oh, definitely. It's even worse than a hot dog. And,
I think Spam is, it goes, it's like the cart down the aisle.
Yeah, it's like
from hot dogs.
it's like they pass that cart, and then the following they're like, okay, hot dogs. But then the
pig warehouse, it's like the last.
Yeah, blast in the line.
Well,
we gotta do something.
Yeah.
We're making them with this stuff.
What do we have left? A jaw and a little.
Do you know Dave Sisson? Remember that guy?
Sisson, yeah.
Yeah. So he's my rhythm guitar player in the Lawrence Peters outfit. He's got the Three Blue Teardrops and the Gin Palace Jesters.
Okay.
So he had this great story because he grew up in Pennsylvania, and he said, "Yeah, I was talking about Scrapple. We were driving on, I was like doing a road trip or something, and I was like, man, I had some Scrapple recently. It's so good. I love that stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, it's really great, but we got this joke in Pennsylvania about it's like a Scrapple or not Scrapple, like multiple choice." And he was like, anything that you wouldn't want in any other food was like, if it was good enough for hot dogs, it was too good for Scrapple. So Scrapple was like absolutely the bottom of the barrel.
Oh my gosh.
Mark down, like the worst of the stuff.
Worst of the worst. Yeah.
Like, all the weirdest guts and anuses and such.
What is some of your go-to meals that you would cook throughout the week? Or do you cook a lot?
I cook all the time. Yeah, I cook all the time, and honestly, I'm super into salad right now.
Nice.
I'm all about some damn salad.
Well,
and then
during the pandemic, a lot of people are throwing away salad because they just forget about it. I guarantee there's so many people, I included. I buy these salad kits.
Oh yeah.
Are you into these salad kits?
No.
Oh my God, they're great. But then I forget.
Sure.
I forget that I have them.
And then you have a bag full of brown water.
Yeah, it's just like mush. And I'm like, oh man, I missed out on that.
Damn.
I know it's a great.
Yeah, I love salad.
But so what have you been making with salad? Do you put a protein on it?
Yeah. So when I make a salad, it's usually it's like some romaine lettuce, and then I love what is that stuff called? Arugula.
Oh, arugula is great.
It's all smoky and spicy, and so so
you like put it on the fire for a while?
No. I just throw like chop it up and throw it on there, and then some brown rice, and maybe some like there are these at Fresh Time Market. It's like a big.
Oh, I love that place.
It's a great place. They've got these bags. It's basically like it's kind of like coleslaw, but without any of the stuff on it. It's just shredded vegetables.
Cool.
So I throw some of that on, and then the brown rice. And then like cooked chicken or some fish or whatever. And then salsa, and then like either olive oil or some avocado or like tahini. Wow. So like there's a fat and a like a complex carbohydrate and some protein, and then green vegetables.
You're blowing my mind. Like for a musician, you're actually a really good eater.
I have to be. I've got a bunch of food allergies, it turns out.
Really?
So I've had to figure out how to like cook around that stuff. So salad is pretty safe because
are you gluten or no?
I have a wheat allergy. It's not like I can eat gluten with no problem, but I can't eat wheat of any variety. Wow. Yeah, wheat, corn, and then I recently found out eggs and dairy.
So wait a minute. So you're allergic to corn?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I've not heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really sucks.
And then eggs and dairy, that's like that kind of cuts out it.
It blows. It really blows.
A ton of great food.
I knew about wheat for years, so I'm over crying about that. But corn, I love Mexican food.
Oh man.
But it messes me up. It just like I noticed that it made me feel super crappy, but I didn't understand how crappy it was treating me.
So your lactose is what they call that then?
No, it's not. I don't think it's actually a lactose intolerance. It's a for real actual food allergy.
Oh, wild, man.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, it's weird.
I'll be darned. That's
So
you have to be a selective eater. So
yes, I did.
Found a really good spot. Like that Fresh Time was right.
Yeah, place is brilliant.
It's a great spot. Great.
Yeah, and it's never busy. It's never crowded. They always have great stuff. It's actually really reasonable. Yeah, that's my go-to spot.
Nice. There was one in Lincoln, and it just skedaddled. I'm not sure why.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but there's a great place up in Lincoln Square called Harvest. Was it Harvest Time?
That sounds right.
Open Heart? No, it wasn't. I think it was Harvest Time.
Yeah, there remember being a harvest something there.
Yeah, there was a heart. It had Harvest in the name. I think it was pretty. harvest time. But that was a great spot too. Wonderful little Mexican grocery store, and it kind of expanded after a fire, and so they rebuilt the thing, and it was kind of like rejuvenated. It was really cool.
That's cool.
But man, that's tough though, man.
Yeah,
Chicago's got so many great restaurants, and so it's
yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's kind of a heartbreaker, but I mean, it's fine. Like as far as problems to have go, that's a pretty good one. You just don't eat that stuff.
Right. You just avoid it. Yeah.
Problem solved. Just don't eat it.
Especially if it makes you feel crappy.
Oh, it made me feel so crappy. Yeah. I was just like, I'm dying. What's going on here?
Right.
I got an allergy test, and they're like, oh, you're allergic to all this stuff. What?
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, well, no wonder I felt terrible. I was eating, eggs and cheese every damn day. And,
every day. There you go.
Yeah.
So you're completely rejuvenated.
Getting there. It's actually pretty recent. It's been like the last several months. So
okay.
It's kind of a new thing, but
well, that's interesting to hear. What a wild concept for a show. I like to talk about music, and then I ask you about food. You're like, what? What is this all about?
Turns out
fascinating though, because I mean, wouldn't you agree that the pandemic has made you want to cook more? Obviously, it has. I mean, everybody that I've talked to has been like cooking so much more at home because
honestly, I rarely went out.
So you were already doing that.
Yeah, I was already cooking all the time anyway. Partially because of the wheat allergy, but also because it's just so much cheaper. And I'm pretty good. Like I know what I'm doing, so I'll just whip up some cool thing and
nice.
And it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, good for you. That's the way to be. And I think a lot of people are going to stick to it. I mean, there's a lot of people are cooking more. They're showing photos on social media and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great group called Cooking for the Pandemic. It started from a bunch of people here in Lincoln started it, and it's kind of blown up like worldwide now. But people post their little recipes and what they're cooking at home. It's a really fascinating thing to see. But man, I've done everything. I've made chicken wings.
Cool.
A friend of mine made me a loaf of bread. Like people are doing weird, they're just trying different stuff.
Yeah,
it's really kind of cool.
I like the reset button that pushed. Actually, I mean, there's a lot of terrible downsides to the pandemic, but it's been really interesting seeing people reevaluate their choices.
There needs to be a lot of resets,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like live music and how radio works and how there's a lot of that needs to be reset. I mean, downloading music needs to go away. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I like people buying at vinyl more and getting back into. And somebody posted on Facebook the other day, like, "Man, vinyl sounds so great." I never knew. And I'm like, dude. Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, like, here's the frequency range, and here's what you're listening to.
Dude, it's like the spectrum of sound is like enormous for a reason.
Yeah.
And the whole science behind vinyl is fascinating. I mean, how you never hear super loud songs closer to the middle of the record because the divots get thinner and closer together. It's such a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, how would you know if you grew up on CDs and tapes? You would never know that.
Right.
Yeah, so but yeah, the world of vinyl is coming back, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
And I just hope people support artists and buy product from the artist and stop, I like Spotify, don't get me wrong. It's cool when I'm, it's convenient, but really it's about people don't realize how Spotify screws artists.
It's the worst.
I mean, it's like the amount they get paid per spin. It's like it's absolutely
it's theft. It's really terrible. Yeah, it's thoroughly despicable.
Yeah.
I wish that Bandcamp would come up with an equivalent, because their model is great. Like you can go on the Bandcamp site and listen to somebody's whole record and check it out, and then decide if you want to buy it or whatever.
Yeah.
You can buy individual songs. I do it all the time. It's great. And then if I decide I really love the record, I'll buy the vinyl.
That's cool.
Yeah, Spotify it's hateful.
It's highway robbery, and they've never.
Terrible.
There's no federally or internationally even. There's no set like fairness to it. It's just like whatever they want to charge.
Well, they're ruining musicians' livelihoods. I mean, there's just no way around it.
Yeah.
They've made everything. It's just so that everybody expects music to be free.
Right.
And then musicians are somehow still expected to write and right. rehearse and record songs and put out records or whatever, and not expect to get paid for them.
And the justification came out of them not having any money, because it was like Napster was just getting stolen. I mean, the music was free, and now artists get checks quarterly from Spotify, and it's still bullshit. It's still it's nothing, but it's still something more than what it was before, right? So it's kind of like a justification, but it's not really. It's like it was free before because they were stealing it, but now,
right,
pennies, like fractions of pennies per spin. So yeah. I hope people reset on that, and I hope they really start supporting artists, venues, and whatnot. So anyway, I'm getting off my high horse.
It's my high horse too, man. Yeah, fuck that shit.
Because it's like, these artists like you and I, we depend on that, and that's a big portion. Selling merchandise at shows is a big portion of your income. Can be, but getting a check from Spotify just makes me go, huh? Wow. What an afterthought.
Yeah, the check is actually worth less than the paper it was printed on.
It's pretty crap.
Like at 5 cents.
Yeah, very strange.
Spend more on postage to send this check to me. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's weird. And some people, that are making good money on Spotify, they probably go, "Hey, I'm doing okay." It's like, yeah.
Oh, sure. I don't think there are many though.
Let's rethink this.
I think people are finally really acknowledging it's a sham.
Making like it's up there. That dude's he's making a lot of cash. So anyway, but dude, this has been an awesome experience.
Likewise.
I can talk to you for days, but this has been very cool. We've had people watching in, and this is super, super informative and very, very fun. Your knowledge of music is always fun to go back and forth with, and you come from the same place as I do, man. From just sounds like from just the idea of performance, and that's awesome. That's very cool. So I can't thank you enough for being on the show tonight, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was really fun.
Yeah, let's keep in touch. And there's my.
What's up, friend?
Willie wants to say hi to everybody.
What's up, Willie?
Say hi, friend.
Hi, Willie.
Hi, Willie. There he is. He's bugging me. He's chewing on my jeans for a minute. He always likes to get in the spotlight. But hey, everybody, I hope you have a good weekend. And Lawrence, thanks for joining me once again, brother.
Oh, so much fun.
Where can they find you on the internets?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm at Lawrence22 Peters and Country My Way. And then also, let's see, I'm on Twitter as Lawrence22 Peters. And then I'm on Facebook. My band, the Lawrence Peters Outfit's on there. And I've got a thing. And I've got a website.
Oh, that's some great music on, and I urge everybody to go check it out. Lawrence Peters Outfit's fantastic. I really want to get you. We've been talking about it for a long time, but I want to get you to Nebraska and play the festival.
That'd be great.
And you can experience the Nebraska music scene, which is fantastic, man.
It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've been to Nebraska to play music. That'd be spectacular.
I love it. And let's not forget, everybody out there, we are a nonprofit organization, and to put on streams like this definitely takes a little funds. So make sure to donate tonight. If you have a couple bucks to throw our way, excuse me. You can see the little Venmo address down there on the bottom, and also on PayPal, and throw us some change, and we'll keep these awesome shows going and bringing on very, very cool, great people like Lawrence Peters. So, all right, my friend, I hope you have a good night, brother.
You too, Mike. Thanks. Good. Enjoy your late dinner.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
My love to your lovely bride.
Thank you, man. Fantastic. And I hope to see you very soon, my friend.
Yeah, likewise, buddy.
All right, bud. Have a good night. See you, everybody.
Bye.